Seriously.
Welcome to the Talking Rock Podcast.
Yeah. Every time we start the podcast, you go like that. Every time you move it.
You interrupted my staff training.
It didn't scare me that time. The clap. Remember how usually it makes me nervous?
It always scares you. Anyways.
Where did you even get that?
Oh my god, my stomach.
The hell was that, dude?
What was
I don't
that?
know. There's a YouTube video that I had up. I'm sorry.
YouTube.
Stop stroking.
No, the reason I'm doing this is because I just realized my thing's been like all the way up here, and I finally just went like, oh, that's really.
That'll sound good.
Take the card. Here you go.
Take the card.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, hold on, give me that card. Zoom in on me. Give me that card. You see this card?
Yo, what it do? It's your boy Azazus at the Talk Your Walk podcast. Okay, I said it right that time. I said it right because I always say it wrong at home.
Everyone always says it wrong. Walk your talk, talk the walk.
I thought I just saw Noah die.
My life flash before my eyes. That light, the light also hit you in your eyes.
Actually, those are the only two things I hear.
Maybe in hindsight, when I created the name, that probably wasn't a good idea.
That's
'Cause-
copyright stuff.
And then, yeah, that we put that song at the end of his episode on YouTube. Automatically got copyrighted.
Yeah. Didn't I tell
That's
you
true.
that?
Yeah, no, I knew.
I kept telling
know,
you, hey,
but-
Austin, if you put copyrighted songs in the beginning of any of your videos, guess what? It's going to get copyrighted. And you're like,
No, I didn't say that. I just said we're so small it doesn't even matter. We're not going to make money off of ads anyways. Anyways, welcome back to the Talk Your Walk podcast. I'm your host, Austin Lipton.
that's how we're starting.
And with me as always are my two co-hosts.
Noah Wilburn, what's up?
My name is George.
All right, and wow, that's the first time you haven't done something weird. I feel like I have to comment on that. Like I'm telling you, man, if you go,
No, it's actually very true.
if
I
you
was
go
listening
back to the episodes, every
yeah.
time I introduce you guys, you always do something weird. That was the first time you like. I could have just gone straight into everything, but I feel like I had to point that out.
I am so incredibly exhausted.
You know, I'm not. I actually feel very refreshed.
Good, you can carry this one.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
All right. Well, today we're sitting here with Azazus, who is a local, and I'm making sure I said that right, man. Azazus.
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay, cool.
One of the first few to have got it right the first time. So
Really?
Yeah.
I know I didn't.
Here we go. So today we're sitting down with Azazus. You're actually our second musical guest that we've had here on the podcast. One of the first ones we had was a younger guy named GB Zizzy. He talked about the younger community and everybody coming up through that. How old are you?
I'm 26.
You're 26. So
Yeah.
you've been definitely, I mean, I don't know when you started, but kind of from everything that I was able to see online, you've been doing this quite a while longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long?
I've been doing this since 6th grade. So I'm 26. You guys do the math. Like,
You do that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I was like, I thought you had a concern. I didn't know you were trying to add.
How many years is that?
That's like,
It's a while.
anyways, man, I'm glad that we were able to get you in here because I don't know that much about you, but I know that you made connections through us from Noah. So I'm going to go ahead and let Noah take it away from here, man, because I'd love to talk to you. But he
What
knows
else
a little,
is new?
He knows a little bit more.
Okay, let's get it in, Noah. Let's
Yeah.
get it.
I mean, what's up, man? No. I just can't. I can't get over that. You're like every time you're like, yeah, you make connections through Noah. It's
No,
like,
that's not every
duh.
single episode. No, that's not every single
What you mean?
No, I was gonna say like me and Azazus first met because I had approached him to be on this thing called Movement.
Yeah.
And,
What's that, Noah?
Nah, we don't need to
Movement
talk.
watches?
Anyways, so no, but I have this idea for like musicians and whatnot to put them on, basically do what we're doing here, just strictly for musicians. And so I had approached him, and I how did I hear about you? I heard about you through
I think through our mutual friend Ricky, Snapchat maybe.
him, but there's a professor at Santa Fe.
Oh,
That's the first time I like heard
Professor
your name.
Marrero.
Yep. Yeah. I can't say her name, so I'm not gonna even try. But no. So yeah, I had heard your name, so I was like, Azazus. And at that time, like the idea was still formulating in my head, so I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, maybe this guy's legit or whatever. She showed us one of your music videos or whatever. I was like, oh, okay, it's cool, like, whatever. And but man, as time grew on, as like, as I got to know you a little more, I was like, man, this guy's the real deal, And then I guess you know a lot of people that I know. I've been finding out. So, yeah, but Azazus, like the name. I remember I asked you this before, but you want to explain?
Azazus. Long story short, I was distributing music 3 years ago. Got a copyright claim. Found out there was a rock band that had like my government name because I was going by Dennis Lee at the time, which is my real name. And Apple Music told me that they were giving me 24 hours to change my name. So I went to a weird place to look for a musician name. I went to the Bible, and I took the archangel Azazel, and I took the name Jesus and fused them together, and then Azazus.
Did you happen to go to the Bible because that was kind of like a dark time for you, realizing that and going through that, or just because you're religious at heart?
I'm religious at heart, and I wanted a name that represented mankind, or my interpretation of mankind. Azazel being like, when we're born, we don't really know like the difference from right and wrong. We're kind of born ignorant, which is where Azazel comes from, the archangel. And I put Jesus towards the end of the name Azazus because I felt like, the older we get, the more we mature, we start to decipher what's good and what's bad. And then, it's up to us to make that choice, whether we want to do good or bad. So, yeah.
How many people would you say know what your name came from? Like when they hear your name, like,
I'll say about like 35 right now. So
yeah,
not many people, man. Like
really,
there's only been a handful of people that have like guessed that my name has come from like religious sources.
When I heard your name, the first thought that went in my head, I didn't know it'd be from the Bible, but there was something in my head where it was like, something just rings about it where I'm like, it kind of just sounds like I've heard it before. But then that makes a lot more sense. You're talking about the archangel. That's incredibly refreshing to hear that somebody talk about their name or kind of what they put out there, and for it to have that kind of a deep meaning. I mean, that's got to not just talk through you as a person and represent who you are to people that listen to you, but also your music.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that a question? My bad. I spaced out, bro.
Yeah, I tend to do that a lot with him too, honestly. He talks about a lot of things in a short amount of time, and I'm just like, yo, what?
Gotta fit it in, man. No, it was more of a statement of me just saying that.
Okay, rhetorical.
The common theme that I see between a lot, you're only the second musical guest we've had on, but the common theme with you and our other guests is that when I ask them about their name, there's always this deeper meaning. It's not something they were just like, oh, there's a trend of people being named Lil, and then we just kind of went with that. You know what I mean?
Little potato chip, little super soaker.
It's different. It's different for sure. But dude, so you've been doing this since 6th grade. Have you always lived here in Gainesville?
No, I'm from Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what got you here?
Life decisions. I ain't gonna go too deep into it on the podcast, but just
No, that's okay.
It was for the better turn to change state. So
did that help your music at all, or?
Yeah. Cause like I'm from like a hole in the wall city, anyways, ain't no music scene. So like I was already like on the radio and stuff back home, but I didn't start doing like bigger shows and music festivals till I came to Florida. So yeah.
You were on the radio.
Yeah.
Why? How? When?
From 2011 through 2015, 93 BLX. We happened to have ties, me and my cousins, we happened to have ties to like the indie radio personality at 93 BLX at the time. And so she was just pitting different people on like every Friday through Sunday, taking all the independent artists and just like pitting their stuff in main rotation. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I may not know about it, but do we have something like that here?
Magic, but it's kind of, we ain't gonna go to that.
I don't know, because I was going to say, the radio heads, the radio OGs, whatever, because I tried applying to different radio stations and whatnot, and I was kind of like, talking to a bunch of people, and then it's a whole different world in the radio scene. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm bad-mouthing them. I really don't care.
To be honest, I'll say, because I've got no
frustrating.
relation to radio, it's filled with a bunch of ignorant people that don't want to get with the future.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's pretty much what's happening.
Yeah,
with
it's true. And I mean, there's nice. I met a couple of nice people. Eric Jewell, shout out to him. But man, I don't even want. I'm a little salty. I'm not gonna even lie. Just about
radio's such a concrete thing when you think about America. you know, you think about America, the music scene, how music was founded. If you wanted to find new music, that would be a great way to do it. If you're talking about like 50 to 30 years ago, nowadays, the only way that you're going to hear new music is if you open up SoundCloud, you go into Spotify, or if you go to a show. So to me, the internet is the only key way to do that. And with radio, there are too many people in radio that don't want to make that transition. You know, and you do see radio stations that are strong and they're thriving because they do have a subset where they choose to do a podcast or they choose to get involved with the community. That can work, but radio itself is...
It does work.
Yeah.
That's why radios here is definitely still relevant, I would imagine. I mean, they have a very... The radio scene, I don't want to talk too much about this, but like the radio scene has a very powerful role in the Gainesville area. I know this because
Gainesville's so small.
Well, smallish, but it's growing. But it still has a powerful, because it's just like the people. It's all about who you know. That's really what it is.
Pretty much.
You know, I guess I gotta ask too. That kind of like leads up to my next question. But like, who do you know? How do you, like, what are you doing to further advance yourself, like your career, pretty much?
Contacting a shitload of A&Rs every night.
What is A&R? What is
A&R is artists and relations. Basically a support of, I don't want to say label because they're not always dealing with labels, but basically, long story short, they're like the scout. Like they're the undercover music scout that listens to everybody, goes to different shows, watching different people and trying to find like the next big thing. And they're the middleman to connect that artist between whatever contract and label it may be. So,
You know, it's funny. I feel like I've talked to a lot of musicians in my lifetime, and I'm only 20. I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about an A&R.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know what that means.
to be real with you, a lot of people don't even know about it or how to even get in contact with one. That's why they don't talk about it.
How do you get in contact?
A lot of research. Like me, myself, like I stay up hours on end, like when I should be asleep. On different Twitter pages, different Instagram pages, or just on label sites, finding out like who the executives is and all these top people, and just taking my time to like see if they have social media or see if they got their email out there, and just, you know, reaching out to them, contacting. A lot of artists don't do that because they don't think about it.
Yeah. So basically, just trying to get your hand into as many cookie jars as possible.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
One of them's bound to have a cookie.
Well, I mean, has any of them like reached out? Has there been any fruition
Jeff
from your work?
Finster of Warner Brother Records reached out 2015, and this is the irony of it. The same deal that he gave Lil Pump when Lil Pump was emerging was the same deal he was trying to offer me, but he kind of told me a little bit too much about what labels are looking at now. You know, back when radio was still a thing before social media blew up, they were willing to, you know, pick up any old, you know, Joe Schmo if they had talent and use their money to blow that artist up. But now, since social media is a thing, he basically told me so many words. Labels are only interested in getting people that's already like viral. Like they don't want you if they look on your Instagram and Twitter, you know, you ain't got like 50,000 followers or something. They don't want you, even if you sound good.
So you're saying like even if you don't have 50,000 followers or whatever, if you don't have 50,000 followers, then they don't want you. Yeah. Because you don't have a big enough audience.
Yeah, like they straight up came out of his mouth on the phone with me.
So what you're saying is social media marketing for yourself is the key thing.
It's where it's at right now.
It's where it's at.
Yeah.
Right now specifically, yeah.
Interesting.
Like prime example, if we're talking about locally right here, Supreme Patty. Dude blew up off of getting viral doing like little social media stunts. He wasn't even making like music directly at the time, you know what I mean?
He was
like
doing
he
like
was
pranks and weird videos, just blowing up because he would do dramatic things that no normal human
and he had like
conscious
serious acne, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like
I have no idea who you guys are talking about.
You know who Supreme Patty is, I guarantee you. The lemon in a lime makes for a good time, then squeeze the lemons in his eyes.
What?
Blonde-headed kid.
Look him up. You'll recognize him.
What are you saying? Supreme Patty?
Supreme Patty, blonde kid, super bad acne, short, fat.
Yeah.
Actually, no, he got some surgery though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He
was
either way.
Yeah.
He was going over to Santa Fe, same school that we were going at, and like dropped out and shit because like he was getting like so many big numbers, and like once he hit like 1 million followers,
He was like,
A&Rs and labels started reaching out to that man.
What?
Wow. And that's why
That's the type of shit that I'm talking about. Like if you got like a strong social media presence, even if it's not music, you can monetize that shit if you know what you're doing.
It's true.
So,
you know, I'm not a musician, right? And I don't want to come from a negative headspace of saying this, so just hear me out.
Yeah.
But it almost kind of feels like these people are almost, and this again, there's a super negative way to think about it. I'm just saying hypothetically, it almost kind of feels like they're just taking food out of other good artists' mouths. if
Pretty
that
much.
makes sense. Because you see people that are YouTubers doing the same thing. Where you have some people that put out these parody or, diss tracks. Those are mostly for entertainment or just because they're trying to have a good time.
Right.
Then you have people on YouTube that are actually trying to make musical careers for their audience out of what they do. And it's some of the worst music possible. But because of their audience being so young, they think that that's what's happening. They think that that's what's on fire right now.
Yeah.
And so then that carries over as they get older, and then that affects the younger kids. So I feel like progressively, unless better artists are there to keep good music around, you're going to keep having a degradation of hip-hop. You're going to keep having a degradation of music in these communities if you don't have people to keep getting out the word, kind of like what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the fact that as long as you're viral, you can get a career. To me, that's mind-blowing.
It is.
To the fact that if we put out enough content on this podcast and somehow we got good enough, the fact that me, George, or Noah could do something with no musical talent and still make millions of dollars.
Speak for yourself. I have musical talent. Please.
Dude, I can bring up a video clip of
Oh man.
I won't, but
But I mean, how does that, like, to me, again, I'm not a musician, you are, how does that make you feel?
To be honest, like cold cut, like raw, bro, I be up stressing and pissed about this shit.
Yeah.
Cause like, it's just like, I'm busting my ass every day, like ever since like teenager to like try to turn this into a career. And like, mind you, like when I started in an era where you actually had to have talent to like get signed.
And that made you work, I'm guessing, even harder
Yeah.
to make it. Yeah.
And now it's just like, mind you, I get it. It's entertainment. Like if you can entertain somebody, you can have some type of career, which is why, a lot of these parody people, not just like in music, but parody anything, they're blowing up and monetizing stuff, is because they are entertaining some type of social group out there. I get it. And it just sucks because then you got like artists that's serious about it, and it kind of contradicts the craft, because it's just like, it's almost like if you're serious, you're not going to go anywhere because the fact you're serious. And then like if you could just be
Such a
funny.
mind trip.
Yeah.
yeah,
such a
yeah.
mind trip.
No, I've definitely noticed it. Like people that, like artists that people can't take seriously, like a bunch of the littles, like no one takes them seriously, and they're hilarious with their music videos, and their songs are just
Bro,
ridiculous.
who-
They explode,
Yeah.
literally get millions of views on videos that they post on YouTube. Their social media accounts explode. So like I totally understand that.
Who's
like
the kid? Who's the kid? Who,
the yodeling kid.
No, the guy who like you know what I'm talking about? The freaking JJ Icefish.
The
Thank
fact that you were able to pick up on what that was, I would have never have guessed it.
My bad, audience, but like, yeah, but him.
You're talking about the bug-eyed dude.
Yes.
With the,
Yes.
okay, yes.
Yeah,
bro.
prime example of an artist. Not even an artist, man. Like a freaking
With just zero talent.
Well, I think that was the whole point of it. And it's crazy. He was probably like super good too, but he was like, man, I could get bigger off of sounding like shit.
Exactly.
Exactly. Oh man,
It's almost like you just got to be outrageous in everything you do if you want to be seen. And most people, and I'm guessing like yourself, aren't willing to stoop to that kind of level. You respect what you do. So
yo, I actually have a story.
please.
Story time.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with music though, but it has the principle of stooping low in order to get what you want. I was working for this job or whatever. I'm not gonna name any names, but basically, no, but like I was working for this job and they were like, well, in order for us to, like raise your pay, basically, you gotta go to this place and take this test and blah blah blah. And you gotta act like you're stupid. You gotta fail a 9th grade test because you gotta show that you're like struggling or whatever, educationally. And I was like, yeah, no, left.
Yeah.
Like I went to the place and I was like, because I'm thinking, okay, like maybe I just have to take some classes, whatever, and then like that'd be it. They're like, no, you gotta take this test and you got to take this test. And like, they knew what I was doing because I was like, they're like, are you in school? I was like, no, not really. Because I'm in summer and I'm not doing classes. So technically, no, I'm not in school.
Yeah.
At the same time, they were like, okay, bud. But, they're like, take this test. I was like, so I have to fail this test in order to get this raise pretty much. They're like, we didn't say that. And I'm like, okay, you technically did. So anyways, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Not wanting to stoop low for any type of popularity or money or dollar sign.
I did it 3 years ago just for the hell of it. Like I made a dumbass song called "We Don't Love These Hoes," and like
we don't, so
And it was like an inside joke between me and my friends. And I was just like, you know what? Every show that I have after I make this song, I'm going to perform it just to see the crowd's reaction compared to like my actual music. And so Gator Stumping, if you guys know what that is.
Yeah.
I was on Gator Stump in 2015 and I was performing at Simon's. And the crowd literally had gave like no reaction to like the hip hop I was performing. I was like 3 songs in and people were just standing there. And I was just like, you know what? Like we about to try this shit.
Yeah.
And so I put on We Don't Love These Hoes. 2 sentences into the song, the whole club was going nuts.
What?
They were going fucking nuts.
Yo, what is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with all of you? I'm sorry.
That to me, wow. So what's to keep you? I mean, morals and ethics are a strong thing, but when money's involved, when you know that the chance of stardom is involved, what's to keep somebody from just throwing that out the window and being like, all right, this is what's gonna make me?
It depends on how bad they're struggling, to be honest with you. Like, it ain't no secret. I talk about it like in other, podcasts and interviews. Like, I've been homeless twice, and if I was still like at that level in my life, then maybe, like if I had the opportunity, like a label could hit me up right now. It's just like, yo, we're looking for new artists. We heard you, but we need you to like rap gangster rap or some shit, and like we'll pay you.
Yeah.
Sure. You know what I mean? Because I need it right then.
Right.
But I'm at the point now where like I ain't gonna say like I'm fully financially stable. I'm 26 years old, but I prefer to like rap about what I'm living right now, and that's pretty much what I'm doing. Is just situational music. Like if I live it, I'll talk about it. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, there's too many artists coming up with elaborate stories of the background for the music just to give it reason. But I feel like that's almost kind of like the best kind of music is the music that comes from the day to day, even if it's not interesting, even if it's not something that you hear that's going to go viral. True music that speaks from the heart is always going to resonate with your true audience that's there to actually be with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, that's the fact that you're able to withhold to that shows that you're a step above the rest. It's just that you've got these other competing factors against you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, have you ever thought about your impact though? Like, money's important, yeah. But I look at this of what we're doing here, putting people on like you, was that English? That was English, right?
Yeah, no,
I
makes
think
sense.
that was English. Okay.
Comprende.
But putting people on, like just giving them somewhere to speak and whatever. Like we're not big, we're not making
Not
money.
by any means. No.
Like we're not, but we do this because we love it. We do it because I'll get messages. I'll get people. I don't know if y'all know this, but like I get messages and I get people coming up to me. Some of it's like, yo, talk about podcasts, huh? But some of it's like, yo, like I listen to this stuff and I like it. Like what y'all are saying is good content. Same thing with. I'm sure it's the same thing with you, right? I mean, have you ever thought really about your impact and like where you're at now is where you're supposed to be?
Me and my friends were just talking about this the other day, and when I say friends, I mean like my other musically inclined friends, because like we were on the subject of A&Rs and labels just yesterday on the phone on a conference call, and we were saying, like if we would have had took some of these deals that were offered to us or were able to get to that point that they told us to get to, we probably would have got screwed over because it was just the fact that we wanted it right then and we didn't fully understand the legal side of things. Now we understand a lot more, so pretty much we would probably have a leverage over a contract or, an entertainment agency hitting us up because we know what to do now.
You can look at that and go, this isn't right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you, in your experience, have you seen a lot of people fall for those types of things and you see them get absolutely just screwed over by it?
Yeah. There's been a few artists that have gotten signed and they got finessed out of like a 12-month contract and they didn't even get like any type of FaceTime or promo. It was just the label signed them, got the people that they knew probably wasn't fans of everybody else on the label, and because that new artist is on that label, now those particular fans is watching that artist is watching everybody else on the label, drop them the next year. Now they're back in their city again, not doing shit. So
I was about to say, how many of those people bounce back?
Yeah, not many.
You're basically almost being used like a pawn. So I kind of
no, not basically. You are. That's the problem with with labels in general. And I heard that thing by Chance the Rapper. He was basically talking about the way it works pretty much.
Yeah.
I guess not the principle, but just like the game that's played. And it's so, what's so crazy to me is that it's so out there, but people don't realize it because whatever things that people above them have to say, like Chance the Rapper, for example. They don't care because their situation and what they want in the moment trumps whatever anybody else has to say.
Yeah.
I find that so sad. Honestly, I don't know about you, but you know, it's tough. It really is. You know,
It is, man.
You got it. You take it away.
Oh, for real?
You
Okay.
take it away.
Yeah, just go for it right now.
It's a little easy.
Mental health, anxiety. It's a little wheeze.
So let's talk about your first performance. Okay. So feelings. How did it feel? Do you remember?
Feelings. Very first performance.
When was it? First off.
This was still in 6th grade. Actually, how I got introduced into the music, my cousin Joshua from back home in Alabama, his parents found out about a record label auditioning that was coming to our town in Foley. And so he wanted to audition because, you know, like he always did like little music stuff at home. He was young, he was scared, so he asked me and a whole bunch of neighborhood kids to like be his hype man. And so we were basically his hype man and backup dancers while he was auditioning for the label. And I enjoyed the experience. So like I started dabbling with stuff on my own and fast forward, yeah. But it was nerve wracking because I didn't know shit about music, bro. I ain't know nothing about music.
Let's talk about your first. When was your first club performance?
That was here in Gainesville, and it wasn't really. I wouldn't consider it a club, but it was a place called The Jam, which is now torn down. I think University of Florida had bought it out, but yeah, it was cool. It was a venue that was like an inside stage and outside stage. I was on the inside stage, and it was just like a whole bunch of hippies there, if I can remember correctly. Because like that was the hippie spot. Like they did like a whole bunch of drum circles and stuff like every evening after like the concerts.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How'd you feel when you did it?
I mean, it was kind of cool though, because it's just like I performed and the people just like, yeah, man, like I enjoyed that, and they just went outside and did like a little kumbaya around the fire and stuff. Like,
It's like really, really mellow then.
yeah, like it was.
Wait,
when was like the first time that you were doing a performance, or maybe not even that, maybe like a first time in your like starting your career, where like what was the first time where you thought where anxiety came in and you know, you started like, if ever, you started like second guessing things? Like, was there ever a time where like you just second guessed like what you were doing?
High school actually. Freshman year, people started talking around the school about like how I did music, and word got back to our principal. And so every year at my particular school, Foley High School, they have Academy Day, which is like a big celebration for each new group of freshmen. And so the school asked me to perform for that. And so this was like the biggest crowd I performed in front of, like all the freshmen and like the rest of the school.
And not only that, but also like it's your peers.
Yeah.
Too. So like,
there's no running from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was crazy, man. I was scared as hell, bro.
I'll bet. Like even in high school, being an actor, like,
oh my god,
you can play a role as an actor, but like it was always so nerve-wracking to get up on stage and like I got to go to school with these people tomorrow. Yeah. Like if I mess up, I will never hear the end of it. And that is a terrifying thing, especially in high school.
Do you ever forget your lines?
Oh, all the time.
Oh my bro, I'll never forget when I forgot my lines for that play. Oh, I was like supposed to be the angry something. Do you know what I'm talking about? Take 5, bro. Oh,
I remember that.
Dog. I was already missing a shoelace. Like I didn't know what was going on for my costume, bro. I was up there and I was like,
no,
man.
Yikes. I don't think that can ever compare to one time at my high school. We had a night that was all about the actors that were in the acting class of the school, and the actors were being enrolled into this program called the Thespian Society, this nationwide thing, and whatever. Look it up if you're really interested. Yeah. So it was a showcase of all of our skills and everything. So we would pick some monologues to do, and we would do the monologues one at a time. And it was just a fun little night where, you know, it was just a bunch of acting. And I had a monologue. The monologue was about a guy who was put up on stage and forgot his lines, and so he just starts spouting out nonsense. He starts going to Hamlet. He says the national anthem at one point, and he's constantly yelling line over his shoulder. And guess what happened as soon as I got up onto that stage? I forgot every single line, and you know what happened? I started crying.
Damn.
And I ran off stage. It was awful. It was
That's the hurt.
It was so bad.
I'm gonna
it
be
was so bad.
110% honest. I don't remember
Ever forgetting my lines because I was like the best actor ever at the Rock High School.
No, that's not what I was gonna say.
Whoa,
okay,
buddy.
I was gonna say
Some resentment.
I don't remember that ending that way.
Really?
I thought you did it successfully.
No,
And I thought
flopped.
you went with it. Oh my
No, dude, I
gosh.
flopped hard.
Serious?
I flopped harder than
I remembered
a
it
fish on a pier.
incredibly wrong in my head. I don't know why.
Maybe
I don't remember
that,
you running off a stage and crying.
Maybe I just remember it differently. Maybe I did
beauty
it
of
really well,
multiple
but I just
perspectives,
my standards
Yeah,
are so high.
because I
Maybe-
didn't remember it that way.
Maybe it was
I
just
hope
that bad.
I hope everyone remembers it that way. I'm pretty sure a few of my old classmates watch this. Actually, I've had a few of them come up to me, so maybe they can write in the comments or something and tell me it's like, no, you really messed up. But yeah, no, I remember it very differently than you apparently.
Jeez, oh Pete, I don't know why. Like I think it's kind of like you said. It was just that bad. I had to black it out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But-
you ever have like a moment like that?
Oh, hell yeah.
The best story.
Yeah.
Go. I need to hear this.
Man.
What was like? If you're obviously comfortable, what was the worst one?
No, he's fine.
Worst one? There's been so many. Like, I don't even know, man. Like,
What's the worst one?
if we talking music, I don't remember which show. Actually, the recent Changeville festival that was here, I was in the middle of my set, and it was a song that was mine and Egerbrands, and I had just announced him to come on stage and do this song, and I didn't know that I had exported out the wrong performance version of the song. So not only did like me and him forget half the song, like right there on spot, it was the wrong version of the song. So the song was shorter than it should have been.
Oh, no.
And so like we both were kind of like holding the mics. Like homeboy went into his hook, and right after the hook, he forgot the rest of the song. And we sitting here looking at each other like, bro, like this your part. And he's like, nah, bro, this your part. I'm like, bro, like the festival is going on right now. Like, what's going on?
Everyone is watching us right now.
Yeah, man, so I mean, fuck it.
At what point do you just look at the audience and go, "Our bad, it's whatever, just
like-
walk off"?
Everyone, we're gonna start over.
We're gonna start over.
They already knew what was up after he did the hook, because he was just like, la da 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 da. Fuck. I kid you not, this is literally what happened. He was just like, fuck, I forgot the lyrics. I'm like, bro, you didn't have to say that to the mic. bro.
Straight into the.
Jeez. Okay.
Did he? Were they laughing or like what was going on?
Everybody was just like, okay, like,
This is a first, yeah.
yeah. So,
At least in acting, when you're up on stage, hopefully you have a bunch of actors to be like, hey, da 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 is your line. It's just like, oh yeah, like at least
true.
people can cover for
Oh,
you. But
man.
that's harsh. That's harsh.
but I mean, it's all love, though. It's all love.
And dude, we make. It's funny to talk about these stories that we kind of reflect on with a kind light, but there's
Yeah.
things that we don't. I mean, I'm sure there's been a lot of experiences where you've gone through that and it's had a big impact on your life, not just through your performance, but if, I don't know how you feel about your own career in that right now, but it's like you said, you're in a place where you're happy with where you're at, but I'm sure that you want to go way beyond that,
Yeah.
And
I mean, like, I have to step back on that statement. It's not even that I'm happy where I'm at, because I'm damn sure not happy or satisfied, but I'm accepting this is where I'm at right now, because if I could be further, then I would be further. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You get that idea in your head where you're like,
Bless you.
I've got to be. Hold on.
What?
Nothing. Anyways, I'm gonna start back over on that. My bad,
Yeah.
man.
The random bless you over there, dude.
I know.
Little sound effect.
God, what the hell?
By the
was
way,
I
am I
even-
allowed to cuss on here?
Oh yeah, dude.
Okay.
You're fine.
No,
you're fine,
bro.
dude.
Okay.
What?
Unacceptable.
Get out.
the ball.
I like. Well, it's funny. I like how you ask 37 minutes.
Yeah,
in.
bro.
Hey, by the way, can I like curse on this?
We get done. We wrap up. Hey man, we can't release this.
Multiple F-bombs.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Nah, we block them out. It's not a big deal.
No, I think what I'm trying to say with that is that even if you are, I'm trying to say with that is that I get that mindset because there have been plenty of times, you know, not just in my life, but with this specifically where I've had to go, you know, I'm not gonna wake up the next morning and there's gonna be 20,000 views on something. I've just got to accept the fact that it's a natural progression of things and that some people are gifted with that. And it does happen to some people, and other people are just, even if their content and who they are as a person, as an entertainer is, and they're great at what they do, they could go 20 years before they're recognized.
Yeah.
You see that with a lot of famous, what's her name? There've been a few actresses like that have kind of gone to Hollywood when it comes to acting, like Tiffany Haddish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But like people like Tiffany Haddish, and you've got the woman that plays, she plays the like second main role in Empire. I forget her name. I don't know her name.
Oh, I feel like Zay said something about this, and you were like, "Oh, that's her." Or something with her
Really?
eyes.
Damn it. Oh yeah.
Black chick, right?
She got bug eyes.
Yeah. She got bug eyes.
Taraji? No?
I don't even know if I know her name well enough. Even if you said it, I'd go like, "Oh yeah, it's her." I don't know.
Yeah,
what
this
her-
is like a complete deja vu right now.
Yeah. Wait, really? It
Deja
is,
vu?
Yeah.
Anyways, the point of that is that these two women, they didn't make it in Hollywood until like their early 40s, and then now Tiffany Haddish, she's in like everything. So it's
What's that? Like, sorry, but
I don't know what's going
I'm
on
so
right
sorry.
now.
No, but no, I was gonna say like, what's the mental health battle that you face every day, knowing it's like, you know, it's like, oh, I need to get out of here because I know I freaking went through it with this,
Anxiety, trauma,
like, all that.
PTSD. Because, like, I came from a crazy childhood that I ain't going to get into. But just, like, leaving that, I still have, like, a piece of that with me everywhere I go. And so, like, that's more or less why I still do music. Aside from the fact that music was part of my family, I still do music as therapy as well. And that's why I try to, like, speak on stuff that, like, I live every day and witness, not just my memories, and put it out there. Hopefully, you know, other people that's going through that can relate to it as well. And I try to tell people this all the time because a lot of my music gets, like, misinterpreted. And I have to break down my music and help people understand, like, okay, this is why I say this in this song, and this is why, you know, certain stuff over here is like this. And then, you know, I just kind of, like, I try to do it with everything I do, not just music, because, like, I was the president recently of a performance arts club at Santa Fe, but at the same time, the club was also a social club to where, like, even if you didn't have talents or anything, you could come chill with us, like, in between classes.
Yeah,
and
I
just,
remember
like,
seeing you.
yeah,
I
it's
see y'all.
stress reliever and stuff. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I always respected that, actually, like, because you started that, didn't you? Or-
I was around when it was founded. Nehemiah Nash, he was the founder of the club, and then he passed it down me and Dion Durr in like 2014 or 15. Yeah. And then I took it over last semester, and
Yeah, I admire that. So, all that stuff that you face, that you deal with, you know, so you use it as fuel, is what I'm kind of hearing.
fuel and therapy for other people, because what I've noticed, like, within our generation and the younger generation, there's either two lanes. There's, you know, lane A, where it's kind of the cool thing to throw yourself in that stigma of being, like, you know, mentally depressed or ill. They think it's cool, you know, all these scene kids and golf kids,
yeah.
and they're doing it for
agree.
attention, you know, not because they actually are dealing with this stuff. These people are good, you know, they go home, they got, like, you know, mommy and daddy, and they're getting, you know, everything. And then there's the actual people that have this stuff, and then you wouldn't even know that they suffer from it, because, like, you know, they don't want to talk about it because they feel a lot of people are not going to relate, or people are going to hit them with, like, a, you know, abusive answer, like, oh, get over it, man. Everybody goes through something. Like,
You know,
Yeah.
I wonder, is it because that we see that we're so, I feel like as a race, as a human race, you know, that we're so desensitized to it, or we find it as like, oh, the edgy kid at the school, right? You know, and we find it to be not cool, or cool in the case, you know, just to be like hand in the pocket, you know, hoodie up, headphones blaring, you know, like that's like the stereotypical depressed kid. But because we find that so cool, does that really hurt the people who actually go through that, you know?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Because, like, the people that don't understand it and don't come from that, they're just viewing it as the entertainment, whether they saw that from a rapper or saw it from like a role that was played in a movie. They think that, oh yeah, that's the lone wolf, that's cool, like that's probably why a dude over here is doing that, not knowing the dude over here is actually living that shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, like that whole man. I don't know. It's like that.
Like everyone wants to overcome a difficulty in life and rise from that and be triumphant, but no one wants to actually live through it.
Preach. Yeah, that's exactly what it
I was
is.
about to
Like
say.
that's why it's so enticing and so cool. That's why in the movies there's always, you know, in kids movies there's always the kid that, you know, he's an orphan or whatever and out of foster homes or something like that. I don't know why I'm thinking
But
of Shazam for
we
something.
make that like
but
as
like,
an entertainment. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You
And
know,
so,
but it's real.
And so like it's really uplifting. Like he overcomes the difficulty, he finds, you know, purpose and everything. But everyone's like, yeah, I want that to be me, but no one wants to live through that.
Yeah.
No, yeah. A lot of people's lives are very boring, and when it's boring, they wish that they had something more fascinating. Even if it's not a story of something that's going to lift people up, it could be a story of oppression, or it could be a story of depression that's going to make them feel like they're special in this world of very bland people, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's where that comes from. I wanted to bring something up, man, and I mean this. We can cut this out if you're not comfortable with this. As a black man, hip hop specifically, recently, as like the 2000s and carrying on forward with that, hip hop has been the reason that in the black community and for black men, that hip hop's been the reason that you see more and more people in that community and of that ethnicity coming out and talking about these issues, what they couldn't talk about before because it had a negative stigma on it.
Yeah.
And where you couldn't. I mean, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but at least that's what I've seen as an outsider.
Wait, say that again.
That in the black community, you know, before hip hop came along and these artists started talking about the fact that they would have mental health issues, they would talk about the trials in their lives, that was kind of like a negative stigma if you as a black man were to go, I'm depressed, I've got these woes. But it'd be one thing if you were talking about one category. Yeah. But if you were talking about the fact, you know, I suffer from this, these are the things that I, you know, deal with, or even just as a man, if you were to talk about the fact that you were sexually assaulted, people laugh at that. Yeah. You know, and I don't know if I'm wrong on that, but at least that's what I've seen is that hip hop has played an integral role in more and more in the community, people coming out and saying, you know, we deal with these issues too. This is not something to be laughed at or to be something to be cast aside, you know, if that makes sense.
I was going to say, it's kind of taking a 180 or 180. Yep. 180.
Somewhere
180. That's the one.
420?
No, it's definitely
360?
But it's definitely taking a 180, I feel like. I mean, you look at, oh man, what's that song called Kurt Cobain by
Kurt Cobain.
By you know what I'm talking
Denzel
about?
Curry.
Yep, Denzel. That's the one. Or freaking just a bunch of people, like just a bunch of musicians.
Well, we've actually had a disagreement on this, and I don't want to get into it again. But
we did.
Say what you'll see. Say what you want about his music, Logic. But he is one of the very few people out there that has a big name in hip hop, where his most recent album, the one before that, mainly focused only on his mental health and what he was dealing with, the fact that he was shit on online because of his race and his ethnicity and how he was represented in the hip hop community. So again, it's like you said, you know, but my point of saying that is that when people do this, they're usually labeled corny. They're usually labeled.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? But I feel like a lot of his music, if you go down the root of it, I'm sure it is corny. But there are some songs in there that hold some light of truth to them, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't disagree with you on that. I do think Logic can be corny, but like I think every rapper can be corny.
Yeah, of course.
So I don't know what you think.
I totally agree on that, man. Like, no artist is gonna put out like a million songs and you're gonna like every single song. You don't think something's corny eventually. And in regards to like music and the topic of mental health, like I feel like it's kind of a limbo thing that's going back and forth, because like early 90s to like early 2000s, it was more or less the era where, you know, like it was kind of cool to be the tough guy. There was the gangster rap, there was the drug dealing music. Then after that, it transitioned, and Drake kind of opened the door to artists venting, which is why he got shitted on a lot for, you know, being like, oh, the heartbreak rapper or the light skinned rapper.
Right. Yeah.
It's because he made it cool to vent. And then that's kind of like when the wave shifted during his era in the Soulja Boy era, and everybody after that went from being like the supplier, you know, the hard guy, to like, now I'm the user, you know, like I'm depressed, I'm on drugs, and I want to vent. And so like
Or I got my
feel
heart
like
broke.
yeah.
Oh.
And I feel like that's kind of like what opened the door to let like all these weird artists out now. Cause you know, like now in 2019, like it's the norm to be weird. Like
Yeah, Tyler the Creator, his
Yeah.
new album. His new album was nothing. All it was about was intimacy and jealousy and heartbreak. And for that to come out of somebody like Tyler the Creator, when you listen to his earlier music, you're like, what?
Yeah.
You know. But you listen to it, it's been one of the most well-received albums all of 2019. So it's true. That holds a lot of truth.
People
Yeah.
know, man. People know, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people know. I'm sorry, I should be more specific. People know about the different trends and the waves that kind of happen. What do you think the next wave will be? The next trend? This is a question for all of you.
Next
I don't
wave,
know.
man.
Maybe not
I
you.
don't know, man.
Maybe not you. But for the both of you, I guess.
Political.
Political?
Because the more and more that politics keep taking over social media and what's going on right now, you see people announcing, like Taylor Swift has nothing to do with the hip hop community. But as an example, Taylor Swift said for her next album, people asked her, you know, what's it going to be about, everything like that. And if she's a big name, so she announced that it's going to be a political album. And you had half the people that were like, oh my God, best thing ever. Then you had the other half that were like, well, that's nothing new. You know, it's, you know what I mean? It's like everybody's talking about politics. So I feel like the last thing that hasn't been invaded by that yet is music. And you're going to see that, I think, in the next couple of years is just political music everywhere. You saw it in, you see it in things like Justin Timberlake's Supplies song. You see it in multiple other artists that talk about it. Beyonce.
See it in Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix.
Oh, yeah, Netflix everywhere, dude.
There's
Everywhere.
that one show that just came out. What about you? What do you think?
Honestly, I see it going there. Like I was gonna name something different until I realized like it's kind of tied into what he was talking about. Like
Yeah, what were we gonna name though?
honestly, I don't even know like what style of music I would like throw that name to be. But like if I could give a sonic example, I feel like To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick Lamar. I feel like he was like ahead of his time when he dropped that because like with this whole shit with Trump, no matter like if you're a Trump supporter or not, don't nobody know like what's gonna happen in the next election. And like America is already kind of fucked up right now because like women want more rights now, you know, like transgender people and the LGBT, I'm not even sure how many letters is in it now. They want more rights now. And just like it's kind of like a reverse back into like the whole civil rights era because you know like it was blacks then.
Yeah.
Now it's women and now it's like, you know, like gay
Gays
people. And I
yeah.
feel like more music like that is going to come out. Social awareness music, I guess if I could
Okay.
put it
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's actually a better way to
That
put
makes
it.
sense.
Wow. Yeah. Definitely.
Social awareness music.
That was good right there. Yeah.
Have you seen a lot of people? I can't remember for the life of me where I heard this from. It was a podcast I was watching where it was a musical artist who was talking about not a musical artist, God, or was it? It was a podcast, famous black comedian. I just can't remember his name. And he was talking about the fact of what you just said, where you see kind of the pendulum swing from being about civil rights issues to now being about social awareness and everything going like that. Do you feel like, what's a right way to put it? Do you feel like it shouldn't move on, that there are still things that need to be focused on in civil rights before things can swing to something that some would say isn't crucial or isn't as, like, important?
To be honest with you, to answer that the best way I can, I don't think any of this shit is gonna get like ever resolved, man. Like, there's people that still like
We're on the same page.
this is going over their heads, thinking that, you know, like civil rights movement and slavery was like, they think it's like 1,000 years ago when it was like, what, 50, 60 years ago. Like, that's still relevant as shit. And they're telling people of color to, oh man, get over it. It's not still like going on today, which is bullshit because like, here I am, you know, at the time I was 13 living in Alabama, experienced like racism right there, like on my way to get ice cream from ice cream shop. So it's still going on, but
Well, slavery or racism?
both.
Yeah, because like you kind of like mixed it up.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, like,
I just want to be.
I mean, you kind of got to mix it up, man. Because like, there's so much stuff that goes on under the radar around the world, and even like right here in the United States. You know, like there's a lot of sex trafficking. If we want to go
yeah.
into slavery,
Oh, yeah.
that's slavery
Yeah.
right there.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
a
definitely.
lot of racism. You know, like even prejudiceness against, you know, like the LGBT community, and like it's never gonna get resolved. It's just like every few years it's gonna flop to something else, whatever is the next big, you know, case. And like I feel like it's gonna do that whole rotation now because social media is a thing. Anybody can have a voice. You don't got to be famous. You know, like you can go up the street, go to Walmart, and get in an altercation with a cashier. Long as you got it recorded, that damn video may reach up to Supreme Court. Boom, now you got a case on your hand. This is going to be the next trend in everybody's music. This is going to be the next trend for movies. So it's just what's going to get popular next.
I was gonna say
It's a very
even,
self-aware way to look at it.
even Avengers Endgame, they had like their first gay, not character, but like openly gay like
character.
mention.
Yeah.
Character, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not even a character. And it ended up being the director, Joe Russo, or it was Joe.
One
or-
of the brothers. Yeah.
It was one of the brothers, but he ended up playing a character where they were talking about they're in the support group that Captain America had, and he was like, yeah, I went on a date last night. He was great, or something like that, and I was like, oh,
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
Huh?
I didn't even catch that when I watched
See,
it.
and that's okay. How do I say this without taking sides? No, I'm just playing. No, okay, no, but like, okay, for me personally, like I love everybody. I don't support it. Sorry. Oh no, whatever. But where was I going with that?
It's all right.
Dang, I really forgot. The way you looked at me kind of like scared me a little bit. Like I was like, oh no.
I knew exactly where you're going.
Yeah.
And to me, that's hilarious that you can't.
Oh, that's what I was going. I'm so sorry.
Okay,
I gotta
you're
interrupt
good.
you. It's become so integrated into today's like entertainment, and whether it's music, whether it's movies, whether it's a TV show or something that somebody's speaking about, it's just become so integrated that it's becoming normal
Yeah.
when it's not. Like, it wasn't, it was a thing, but like it wasn't normal
To be
20 years
public
ago.
about
Like,
it?
yeah,
Nah, I think
it
it's
wasn't very public. It wasn't,
Yeah.
it was frowned upon. And then all of a sudden we're getting to things that are very, very controversial. Everybody. Hey.
I would say this. I don't think at least in entertainment and in media, I would say this, and we're all free to disagree. I would say that issues of being gay, issues that black community still faces today, those are more prevalent in entertainment and media. If you were to turn on any TV show that has a network with ABC or anything like that, they're putting black people in roles, they're putting gay people in roles, they're putting all of these political. You can't
putting Will
watch
Smith as the genie.
You can't watch mainstream roles on television today or movies and not see that be represented. So
Right.
what I feel is happening is that it might be addressed within entertainment that people see, but the real things that matter, the things that we're talking about, the things that go on behind that, politics, the thing that affects actual communities, they don't give a shit about seeing. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they give a shit about seeing a black man as a main role. They care about a real human being and being able to afford food. Does that make sense? If they're like, I know that people care. I'm saying I know that people care about representation, but how much does representation matter if the actual issues aren't being fixed?
I get you.
Does that
I hear that.
does that make sense?
No, I hear that.
Like, and I'm not
How
saying
much? Say that again. How much does representation matter
If the actual issues aren't being
issues
fixed?
aren't getting fixed? You can have hundreds of shows where all the characters are openly gay, bisexual, like LGBT.
anything that could be
characters,
considered socially
you know,
aware.
or socially aware characters. You can have, but if that isn't doing anything other than raising awareness, there's all that thing about. There's this whole thing. It's to raise awareness. Everyone's aware of it. I guarantee you, everyone's aware of it.
Me personally,
But
I could give
it's the big
yeah.
wigs that don't want to acknowledge it. The people in power that, the wealthy families that have been in power for 3 generations at this point, they don't want to acknowledge anything that's going on with the lower class people,
Right.
in these areas, and the LGBT and, all these communities and everything. They don't want to acknowledge that because that would mean they would take responsibility for their past actions, and they can't do that. But we're seeing it now where, thanks to social media, people are getting called out for stuff. People are getting called out for using their power and position to coerce young women into stardom, basically saying, if you do this, I'll make you big and whatever. And thankfully that stuff is coming out and everything, thanks to social media. But unless we do something about it, we can get all the representation that we want. It's not going to do anything
for the actual issues.
for
at
the
hand.
actual issues,
Right.
except raise awareness.
Well, what I think the best way I can put it is that as a Hispanic man, my heritage being Puerto Rico, I could give 2 shits if you put a Puerto Rican man as a main role in a TV show. what's actually happening in Puerto Rico right now, who hasn't received aid since the hurricane.
Right.
That's what I care about. I could care less about somebody being a main role who's Puerto Rican on a TV show. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's happening universally, is that there's a quieted majority of people behind that you have people freaking out because, oh, thank God we finally have representation in entertainment. But then you have the other people that are like, none of this matters. Nothing's actually being fixed.
I'm not saying that doesn't do anything. Raising awareness obviously raises awareness for people that can and want to do stuff, to actually do stuff. It does help, but it's not the end all be all to all these issues and everything. Raising awareness can only go so far.
It's like if you have to talk about business for a second, if you have too much marketing for a product that, like if you're marketing a product that you don't have enough of, it's kind of like the same thing. Like you're spending all your money in marketing and spending all your money in advertisements and blah blah blah.
But when somebody looks at the actual product, the product shit, you know?
Yeah.
It's like Cutco knives or something. Let me stop.
So, I mean, I guess the main thing that should be said here is, like, even with all this displayed in entertainment and whatnot, what can be done, you know, like, while they're displaying all this stuff?
I think the better question is, what are you planning to do
What am I planning to do?
through your music?
Let people know that they're a part of something, man. Like, honestly, aside from the whole trend, I was doing this anyways, but, like, from what I see nowadays with the younger generation leading up to, like, the people that's my age, everybody just wants to be a part of something, you know what I mean? Like, and now with everybody, like, so stuck in technology and in their phones, it's hard to actually be self-aware and communicate, which is why I made a song called Communicate, because I'm just like...
I was about to say, I disagree with that, because I think the new way of communication is through the phones.
I feel that, but try this for a second. Say you're communicating with somebody for a whole month. None of it is face-to-face, strictly through text. And then, like, you guys finally get face-to-face, or maybe not even on purpose face-to-face. Like, say you're both in a store getting whatever you need, and you pass each other. You know that's the same person you've been talking to on Facebook for, like, a month, but you don't even care to acknowledge that person face-to-face. You wait till you're at home 30 minutes later. Oh, hey, did I see you in Walmart? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like people don't know how to communicate now, because they rely on their phone to communicate.
So they don't know how to communicate face to face.
Yeah.
But they.
That's what FaceTime is for.
I'm just.
I feel what you're saying, because to me,
I feel it too.
No, you're good, man. I'm not taking sides here. Take it easy.
I didn't mean to sound
No.
for a second.
I will say, as someone who grew up socially stunted, I didn't know how to interact with kids my own age and didn't know how to get friends. And that has made an impact on my life to this day.
Right.
Technology has not helped that. Especially when friends that I have known for a while that have moved away, especially because I can keep in touch with them and still get that social interaction through them when they're, you know, a couple states away or whatever. And, like, I don't need that many friends, and I don't need to make new friends or whatever. Like that, yeah, I can see the I can see the weight of that.
Yeah.
You can't stop the future. I'll say that. That being said, in my opinion, you'll never be able to replace genuine human face-to-face contact.
Right.
Ever. Because to me, once you lose that, you lose, and I'm not trying to get dramatic, I'm being serious with this, you lose humanity. You lose what makes people people.
Oh, yeah. My thought, I feel like there could be a lot of misinterpretation with, like, social media, and then, like, bringing that to, like, face-to-face interaction as well if the people don't know each other. Because, like, the thing with social media, people only know what we allow them to see on social media. You could be whoever you want to be, but then, like, you see these people in person, it's like a whole different entity, you know what I mean? Like, you actually get to see who they are, actually. So that was my final thought on that. So, yeah.
With that being said, human contact, where can people, oh, there. Talk, wow, this is a lot more difficult than you let on. Man, you should really get a mic, man.
Oh my gosh. I love this. They can, don't worry. Oh man, this is a long. Yeah, no, keep it down there, buddy.
Okay. Talking about that with human contact, where can people see you live?
They can see me live anywhere around Gainesville when there's, like, a bigger event, because usually it's the big events that want to mess with me. Other than that, find me on social media at I am Azazus. That's AZAZUS. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on. Seriously, we appreciate it. we went off in some directions that I didn't know we'd go, but I'm happy that we did, man. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, while you're here, you can check out our website. At the Talk Your Walk. Hey, over here. At the talkyourwalk.com. Kick ass dude.